Good day, viewers. Welcome back to the Preaching Humanist with David Oliverio. That is I. Where the good life is guided by reason, informed by science, and motivated by compassion, empathy, and love. I've often wondered, why do we need this book taught in public schools? Why do we need it for anything, for that matter? Do we really need it to teach our children and to raise our children or grandchildren in good moral, ethical behavior to become good, judicious citizens? Well, let's talk about that today. I want to talk about the value of our secular public schools. Not long ago, I was at one of my clients' homes during this COVID pandemic crisis we all experience. And she is a grandparent, along with her husband, and I train them in their home as their personal trainer. Her daughter-in-law and two grandchildren live with her. She is a retired teacher. And I overheard her sitting with her 5-year-old kindergarten or first grade grandson while they were on the computer listening to their teacher while they were in that mode of social distance learning. And I overheard the teacher on the computer, the topics in a secular public school to these first graders in their formative years was not Bible verses, but rather the 7 C's of character, getting along with other people, being kind, being respectful, trusting other people, having good relationships, ethics, and morals to become good adult citizens. Now, there was a guy named Horace Mann back from 1796 to 1859. He was an American education reformer. He promoted public education with a secular nature, just like, or very similar and analogous to the Constitution and government, separate religion and government. Now, Horace Mann, quote, "Our public schools are not theological seminaries." Now, historian Elwood Cobbleberry, if I'm saying that correctly, said of Horace Mann, now this is gold. Listen to this nugget. "No one did more than he to establish in the minds of Americans the conception that education should be." Now I'm going to go over the 6 should be's of secular public schools in America. They should be, number 1, universal. What a concept. The value of public schools. It should be for everybody. Easily accessible. Number 2, education should be non-sectarian, non-religious. Sects are divisive groups that are off alone, isolated from others, and critical of others. No, non-sectarian, because Horace Mann was raised very Christian. And if you know what Calvinism is, Ephesians chapter 1 in the New Testament, Calvinist. He was raised evangelical fundamentalist. And he, like many other believers, were on that Christian evolution. They change. He became more progressive and liberal in his theology, thankfully. And number 3, education should be free. A human right. Why? We will get to that. The value and the importance of education and intelligence in humanity. It should be free. Now, continue with this quote. The aims of public school, the objective, the goals should be, another 3's of should be's, should be social efficiency, peak performance, raising children to be high performance individuals in society. How do you teach children how to get along with people from different beliefs? teaching children to get out of their echo chamber and their little confirmation bias bubble, which many parents do with their children, getting them out there, amalgamation with other people of different beliefs. How do you get along socially? The social efficacy, making a better world. It also should be producing civic virtue. Here we go with the virtue again. Now, through the years in our very Christian culture in this country, in America, virtue, goodness, morals, ethics are all associated with church or God belief, Christianity. Now, I, as a secular humanist and an atheist, a former Christian preacher, my father was a pastor, you know my background. I know that these ethics and morals are within us as a social animal, and we learn through reason, critical thinking, consequentialist ethical system, to become more virtuous and good and moral. Civic virtue is the common welfare of the community. Number 3, what else? It should be producing character. The 7 C's of character. And remember, no mention of sectarianism, of Bible scriptures, of religion or gods. Simple secular humanism. Rather than mere learning. Now, what Horace Mann was saying, the importance of pure education and learning in secular public schools, yes, extremely important. But more than just that, we are producing and helping these individual children to become better all-around people. Or the advancement, and he repeats again, of sectarian ends. Now this, as I close, is, if you remember anything about this short message, remember this. Horace Mann argued that public education was the best way, now that's debatable, and I'll come back on that in a minute, the best way to turn unruly children into disciplined, judicious, which is good judgment or sense, adult citizens. Now, a lot of you people have your alarm red flag going off, like, wait a minute, what about parental raising? The responsibility of parents and adults in family groups, of course. That's number 1. Public schools assist in raising children in their formative years in these areas. And those children who come from that unfortunate background where they do not have the loving parental guidance and compassion and motivation from caring adults. There are people out there. I don't like to hear this. It breaks my heart to think about it. My wife, Christine, is a public high school special ed teacher here in the Austin metro area. Now, it's heartbreaking to hear about the students. Many of them come from poverty, where she teaches. They don't have the loving structure of adults. 2 mommies, 2 daddies, a traditional mommy or daddy, grandmas and grandpas, aunts and uncles, or a tribe of caring, loving, educated adults to properly raise children, especially in their formative years. So my wife, Christine, has a job cut out for her. And yes, I asked her, do you talk about character building, ethics and morals? Do you have to use this in your school? Of course not. We already have this good secular teaching to become better people. So yes, public schools assist in parental development for children. That goes along with the quote I have used for years. Education and knowledge promote good, right living, where crime is the offspring of ignorance and superstition. You want moral, upright, good, judicious adult citizens? You take children and you love them. You use gentle discipline through education. You get these children grounded and rooted in science and knowledge and the humanities and all a proper education, non-sectarian. And you will have healthy adults, healthy-minded, emotionally secure people. The evidence is out there, as I discuss often. The areas on planet Earth, different countries around the world that are more secular, that promote science, education, non-sectarian, separating religion and government and religion and public school education, are the healthier societies, more peaceful societies, rational societies, less violence, less crime. They're just better all over. That's a world I want to live in. So these things called public schools, let's keep them secular. Let's keep them non-sectarian. Let's promote science, reason, and education for the next generation. Thank you so much for watching the Preaching Humanist. And remember to let the light and the compassion of secular humanism shine. Have a wonderful day.